Good evening, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And this evening, we shall be looking at Marlene Malahoo Forte, right? And she is some Minister of Legal Constitution or Minister of Constitution in Jamaica. I'm not sure. I need to look at her specific title, but she is chairing the Constitutional Reform Committee for Jamaica to be transitioned to becoming a republic, right? And that has been, um, should I say, inducing a lot of debates in Jamaica. As a result, there are some people who are pro-republic, and there are people who might feel like myself that having a Republican status is not going to solve the intractable problems that bedevil modern Jamaica. But so much to say, we know that that is where the government is heading. And she is a very important woman as she is chairing the, uh, the reforms that are being actually tabled, that are being crafted for a new Jamaican constitution. One of my problems is that we do not know, the public is not engaged with these reforms and what these reforms entail. I think that Jamaicans need to be introduced, right? And they need to be exposed to these reforms. I do not think that this is being done in a transparent way, even though Malahoo Forte perhaps would disagree with me. I'm sure she would disagree with me because she thinks that this is a democratic process. But whatever it is, we do know that she occupies a very, very important role. She plays a pivotal role in that transitionary um, activity, right? From being a constitutional monarchy to becoming a constitutional republic. Now, let's begin with Wikipedia and let's look at Marlene Malahoo Forte, right? And according to Wikipedia, Marlene Patricia Malahoo Forte, KC, and for those of you who are not British or have that British connection, British roots, right? KC means the King's Council. MP, which was she's a member of parliament. JP, right, the Justice of the Peace, is a Jamaican politician. She has been the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. That's what the position she currently occupies, the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs since January 2022, and was the Attorney General of Jamaica from March 7th, 2016 to January 10th, 2022. She served as a senator for the Jamaican Labour Party from 2009 to 2016 and served as State Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade from 2009 to 2012. Prior to entering politics, she served as a resident magistrate. Forte received her early education at the Manning School in Savanna-la-Mar, Westmoreland. She studied at the University of the West Indies Norman Manley Law School and King's College, London, that's LLM, in 1999, obtained a master's degree in public administration from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, a qualification of which I wasn't aware, and has lectured in criminal justice or in criminal practice and procedure at the Norman Manley Law School. Now, Forte was elected to the House of Representatives as MP for St. James West Central in March 2016 after the Jamaican Labour Party won the 2016 general election on February 25 by one seat. Interesting. In June 2016, Forte criticized the U.S. Embassy in Jamaica for flying a rainbow flag following the Orlando nightclub shooting. Forte said it was disrespectful of Jamaica's laws. Forte's comments were in turn criticized by others. So we see that she is a very qualified woman, right, with international degrees, right, coming from very top universities such as the King's College, right, the King's College in London, and also from the what do they call it again now at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, right? And she also studied at the University of the West Indies at the Norman Manley Law School. So Marlene Patricia Malahoo Forte is unquestionably, is unequivocally a very, very qualified woman, right? Very qualified lady, as it were. Now, I have been following her since she came to politics as a young woman, right? Roundabout, was it 2008, 2010? I started, looking at her. And, I know that she is a very, very intelligent and eloquent lady. However, she is a part of international organizations such as the World Economic Forum. We call that the WEF. I am not sure how many Jamaican citizens are aware of the World Economic Forum, which is a very elite group of people. All right, that NGO is a non-governmental organization, an NGO that often meets in Switzerland, right? So it's an NGO that normally meets in Switzerland, and they believe in the public-private partnership in terms of government, merging with private corporations, business entities to redesign, as it were, our society, our world, as it were. Now, how do I know that she's a part of the World Economic Forum? Now, the JIS, that's the Jamaica Information Service, reported that in 2010 when she became officially a member of the Young Global Leader. Let me see if I can close this thing here, and then I'm going to share my screen with you to prove to you that Marlene Malahoo Forte belongs or is an avid member, is a bona fide member, I should say, of the World Economic Forum, right? So we have here PM Golding congratulates Senator Malahoo Forte on selection as Young Global Leader. Now, you've got to do your own research on the WEF. We shall speak briefly about it after I introduce these matters to you in terms of confirming that she is, in fact, a bona fide member of that elite institution or organization. Prime Minister Bruce Golding has congratulated Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Marlene Malahoo Forte, on her selection as a young global leader, a YGL, by the Geneva-based World Economic Forum. Right? If I say the WEF, that's what it means. That's the acronym for the World Economic Forum. The honor bestowed each year by the international group recognizes the most distinguished young leaders below the age of 40 from around the world for their professional accomplishments, commitment to society, and potential to contribute to shaping the future of the world, right? So that is what one of her mandates is, to reshape the future of the world. Mr. Golding said Senator Malahoo Forte had joined the list of outstanding Jamaicans who have brought pride and honor to Jamaica, demonstrating that we continue to show the rest of the world that we are great achievers blessed with the Jamaican gene of distinction in all that we do. When I appointed Mrs. Malahoo Forte as a Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in July 2009, I noted that she would bring value to the work of the ministry at a time when the global challenges confronting Jamaica require intense and strategic foreign policy responses, right? So she is a bona fide member. This is no makeup, right? And you've got to do your research about this organization. Now, on the World Economic Forum website, this is not what I was looking for. Let me see here where I have her. Yeah, so this is the website of the World Economic Forum, right? This is where it is. I wish I could get these things off so I can not be confused here. Why is it not closing? Reject. Okay. Okay, good. All right, so we have here, let me take this here, down here. All right. So we have here, this is the World Economic Forum website, and we have currently served as Attorney General of Jamaica and elected Member of Parliament for the constituency of St. James, West Central since March 6, 2016, formerly Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and Government Senator from 2009 to 2012. And they list her, all of her positions, right? And then they talked about, her accomplishments. She went, of course, to the University of the West Indies, to the Manning's High in Jamaica, and also she attended she attended Harvard University, right? The Kennedy Center, the Kennedy, Center of Government, something of the sort, right? All of that she attended, and they have said she's named among the top women in law, Jamaica's 50 most powerful women. Jamaican Woman of Excellence recipient, and she JCI West Indies Top Young Person Award in 2010, and bigger high achiever in the legal and judicial systems, right? So this is Marlene Patricia Malahoo Forte, right? A very important and powerful young woman. Well, she's no longer very young as she was here. Maybe she got this honorable title as leader of the young global leader of the World Economic Forum when she was in her 30s. She was then a young, very young woman. Okay, so that you have seen for yourselves. Now let's look at what this thing is about. The World Economic Forum, what is it? And what do they aim to do? What is the agenda of the World Economic Forum? The World Economic Forum is an independent international organization committed to improving the state of the world, right? So they are committed, according to them, to improving the state of the world. Now, it's interesting that we have tasked our governments to improve our lives, yet this organization, which is a non-governmental organization, is tasked, right, with improving, or committed, as they're saying. Well, they're not tasked, but they're committed according to them. But they do wield a lot of influence in the world, in world politics, because they have what? Selected members, politicians who belong to that elite organization and who are moving along with their agenda. As stated in its mission, it engages business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. So they're not only committed, but they're shaping, right? And to shape means that they have tremendous influence, because if you're going to shape, you have to what? Change the laws, because the laws are what will help you to reshape and to remold, as it were, to refashion, as it were, the society in which you live, right? Because a nation speaks through her laws, right? Something you must understand. The forum was first conceived in 1971 when a group of European business leaders met in the sky town of Davos, Switzerland, to consider the major global issues of the day and to brainstorm on solutions to address these challenges, right? Something very interesting. Now, in 1971, we know that was the time that the United States actually dropped the gold standard, right? To remove the gold standard as the system of monetary to judge its monetary strength, all right, or that governed its monetary policies in the United States. So this was a very, very significant year when there was a shift, as it were, in the world order, right, in the Bretton Woods Agreement. Now, since that time, the WEF, or the World Economic Forum, has grown to occupy a global platform, right? So it actively includes leaders in government, business, and civil society in its efforts, with the idea of joining these different spheres of influence together in the collaborative and collegial spirit of Davos, right? In the collaborative and collegial spirit of Davos. Now, notice here that they have people coming from all different spheres and disciplines, right? From politics, from government, right? From academia, right? They even have people from academia. So don't be very fooled sometimes when some of our colleges, or most of them, are involved in the agenda of the World Economic Forum, right? Something that you need to understand. Sometimes we think our universities are there, the politicians are over there, and then our business elites are somewhere yonder, and there is no collaboration, right? But there is collaboration, and there are collaborative efforts that we have to be aware of, right? Very important that we understand these developments. Now, Malahoo Forte, we have, she is the person who is chairing the CRC, that's the Constitutional Republic Committee. Now, remember now that Jamaica is on the verge, as it were, right now, of becoming a republic. And this government, the GLP government, is fast tracking. People are telling me, oh, they're not fast tracking because things are going slowly. Yes, because you're being distracted and you're not seeing that they want to accomplish this feat by next year, by 2025. And no politician is going to go out of power without having that sealed and signed and say that this belongs to me. I transitioned Jamaica into becoming a republic, right? We saw that Mia Markley did that in 2021. And I think she called the snap election of Barbados in 2022. Right? So we must understand that I would think that this process is going to lead into the next general government elections for Jamaica, which might be called sometimes next year. And I think they would want to achieve this feat before calling the elections, as Mia Mottley did, and perhaps to lead us safely into that, into that land of milk and honey, and then perhaps invite Prince Charles, not Prince Charles, but he's a King Charles, right? King Charles III, right? Invite King Charles III, just like Mia Mottley, to that event and, drink some champagne and have fun and tell the people that they are now fully free, right? And they are not going to have the shadows of the king over their heads, right? They are now, or they will at that time, be fully free. Something that you need to understand. What a world, yeah? What a world in which we live. And we see a lot of deceptions. Only if you are looking at them, I'm not sure if you are. You can't from your vantage point, because you have not dived into this as I have dived into it. I have to be careful what I'm saying, because you don't want people to accuse you of diffusing conspiracy theories. So I am looking at, mainstream websites, right? And they see that the CRC signs off on recommended changes to constitution, right? So we have here that Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Malahoo Forte, says that Constitutional Reform Committee has signed off on the recommendations for proposed changes to the Constitution, and the next step is to go to the Parliament for tabling, right? And she can't tell all of the in details what the changes or recommendations or reforms will be. She says that the Constitutional Reform Committee has now signed off on the list of recommendations. The document is being prepared for the signature of committee members, Malahoo Forte said. Now listen to what he's saying. I don't think it is any secret that the recommendation is for the non-executive presidency. I'm not at liberty at this time to go into the details of the recommendations, because there is a protocol and sequencing of the work that must take place. How brilliantly put. Yeah. When we are calling for the rule of law to be ingrained, we have to curb our appetite for the leaks and want to hear ahead of time. You can be assured that in the same way, we have put online all of the confirmed minutes of the meetings, right? So that's what she's saying, that everything cannot be diffused or disclosed to the Jamaican populace, to the Jamaican public, because of rule of law, and that some secrecy have to be involved, right? That is what you have to understand. The government has to be secret because they're important, and they can't divulge everything in the interest of national security under the rule of law, right? They always use these terminologies: in the interest of national security and right? Following the rule of law, even though they are operating in a lawless society and they have no commitment to creating a law-abiding environment, right? That is what is happening in that land of Marcus Messiah Garvey. Now, this is Malahoo Forte with, I think he is a professor at the University of Austin, Texas, right? The University of Texas, Austin. And he is one of the persons who is on the committee, right? And who is trying to rewrite, as it were, the Jamaican Constitution, right? So this is where she is. So we have Texas law global constitutional expert Richard Albert has seen his research relied upon numerous times in countries around the world, reviewing or rewriting their constitutions. So this guy seems to go around the world helping people to revise, to review, and rewrite their constitution. For example, in 2021, he advised the Constitutional Convention of Chile on designing procedures of constitutional reform for the country's proposed constitution. I did not look if Richard Albert is also a member of the World Economic Forum. That I should have done. You can do your own research and find out what organization is he affiliated with, right? You must study these things because he could be also another member of the World Economic Forum, another young global leader, right, who is shaping, as it were, our society or reshaping the politics and the way how government is run. And in 2022, he says the Supreme Court of Kenya relied extensively on his theory of constitutional dismemberment in its decision on a major dispute over a constitutional reform, right? That is the person that you're talking about. So we have Albert is one of 15 people appointed by Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Malahoo Forte. You know, I don't know if this ministry was in Jamaica years ago, right? Is this a new minister? Because she's the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. Is this a new ministry for the Republic? I don't know. Somebody can inform me about that. I never heard, you know, because I know about the Attorney General, or it's a new name for the Attorney. Well, not that's the new name for the Attorney General, but I think the Attorney General is somebody else. But you could inform me, you could enlighten me. I'm not sure who is this minister. Well, she is the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, but when did this ministry, when did they create, as it were, this ministry, right? I've never heard of it before, seeing associated with her name. To serve on the Constitution Reform Committee, or CRC, helping to lay the groundwork for a new governmental framework, right? So it's going to be a new governmental framework that the Jamaica government has to abide by. And she says that, so look at what he will continue to teach during this appointment, which is effective until the country's planned elections in December 2025. Are we going to have elections in December 2025? All right. Um, let's see what happens. According to Albert, the CRC has three objectives. One, to replace the king with a Jamaican head of state, says Albert. Two, to modernize the country's constitutional arrangements. And three, to patriate the constitution to bring it home at last from the United Kingdom, right? So they are very, very direct that the constitution that Jamaica had before was directly from the United Kingdom, right? And it had nothing to do with Jamaican reality. But now that we're going to become a constitutional republic, we will have that freedom, according to them, to run the show for ourselves, right? And to be fully free, right? Because that is what most Jamaicans would like, even though we do not have any economic freedom and most of our assets are not owned by us, right? I don't know what Jamaica owns right there now as we speak, all right? Most of the lands are not owned by us. They are foreign owned. right? So let us see if we're going to be still called a crowned colony. The lands there are going to be still under that crown colony status. I don't know. These are things that have to be cleared up and to be resolved. So this is what she is about, right? The Marlene Malahoo Forte. Now, the World Economic Forum, I think I read this before, and there's something as I see here that is very important for us. This is coming from The Spectator, and it's a very important article as a UK Spectator. Let me see if I can make my screen a little bigger so I can see the print. Yeah, and I think I needed to have subscribed, so it's going to take me some time. Yeah, it might not be able to read the way I can't close the screen here. I might not be able to read it. That's the whole thing. I might not be able to read it. What can I close this? Yeah, it was on my phone, but it seems like on my computer, it's not allowing me to read it. But it goes into the World Economic Forum, and its long-serving founder and executive chairman, Professor Klaus Schwab, are the subjects of many insane conspiracy theories. This NGO, which again, this January will bring together politicians, business leaders, journalists, academics, and assorted celebrities in Davos, has been accused, among other things, of being a secret cabal of pedophiles who use the COVID-19 pandemic to harvest children's blood so as to hasten in a satanic new world order. I think it's, crappy the way they're saying it, because I don't think people think that it's not this indoctrinist way of how this is put by this journalist. But of course, he's debunking, he's sort of saying that it might not be very far from this fringe sort of perspective. It isn't mad, however, to regard the WEF as a dangerous force in global politics. The WEF is a dangerous force in global politics, right? And this is coming from the UK, The Spectator. To adapt Joseph Heller just because you are paranoid doesn't mean that the WEF isn't after you. A shared distrust of the WEF brings together anti-capitalists on the left and culture warriors on the right. But that distrust is based on a misunderstanding of what the WEF is these days really about. Now, so we have some things that is said about the WEF. I am not be able to read all of that because I'm not seeing here. Now, ignoring these inconvenient facts, Schwab believes that the world needs a great reset, right? So that is what Schwab is thinking that we need. And I started reading that book, and I might have gotten to the middle of it, and it is not an easy read in terms of understanding what this guy is all about. It's almost like you're reading a sci-fi book and you're living in a dystopia, right? You need to understand that there are some serious guys out there who want to reshape the world in which we live. And some of you are not even grasping because you don't want to read and to read with an open mind, and also to be able to observe in a discerning manner the things that are happening around you. Oh, I don't believe. Some of you, I don't believe, and you don't know. How can you believe or not believe if you have not read, if you have not researched, right? You've got to do the research. You've got to put in time and effort. And I did say in my previous video that we need, and I'm including myself, to talk less, to read more, and to think more, right? Talk less with your friends. Some of you are on the phone talking nonsense and you're not talking about these major issues, the major issues of the day. Most of what we see in the media are really distractions and entertainment, right? To entertain us, distract us from the real agenda. Ignoring these inconvenient facts, Shaw believes that the world needs a great reset. COVID, according to the WEF's website, explained the global reboot awaiting the world, revealed all the inconsistencies, inadequacies and contradictions of multiple systems, from health and financial to energy and education. So they're not talking about just science. They're talking about revamping, reshaping, remodeling, right? The entire world, right? Whether it's health or the financial world to energy to education. The entire planet needs a new social contract to reshape the future state of global relations, the direction of national economies, the priorities of societies, the nature of business models, and the management of a global commons, right? Something that we have to understand. That's quite a list. But what adjectives, I ask, should I be used to describe an outfit that proposes to coordinate the reorganization of 8 billion souls, 195 countries, international relations, social policies writ large, and a $104 trillion global economy? Words like delusional. And we see that the writer here is saying that this is a delusional approach, right? Agenda, as it were. It's dystopian, right? It is dystopian, to say the least. Now, there's something else I wanted to show you before. Now, they want to actually transition the world into a corporate state, into becoming fully a corporate state. I think that we are essentially a corporate state, but it's going to be a fully designed corporate state. Now, corporatism is a broad concept. It can run the gamut from the hyper-authoritarian version embraced by Mussolini's Italy to worker boss structures of the type described by Schwab in post-war Western Europe. All forms of corporatism, however, share some common themes. Now, listen to what he's saying. One is the necessity of limiting market competition in order to preserve social cohesion. Another is mandating cooperation between representative groups of different social and economic sectors, a process overseen and, if necessary, enforced by government officials for the sake of the common good, right? And the question is asked here, what, you might ask, could be wrong with this? The answer is plenty. For short, corporatism, including its Schwabian expression, isn't big on freedom, right? So this writer is saying that what the World Economic Forum wants, this corporate world, this, with all these corporate countries, right? Corporatism is something that is an ideology that is not big on freedom. It's all about forming and then maintaining a consensus on economic and social policies. For this reason, corporatism doesn't cope well with dissent. All right, so talk about all of this, what we call now suppression of speech that we're now witnessing, censorship that we're seeing in our society, right? It's coming from this organization of unelected bureaucrats reshaping and redesigning the world in which we live. And their young global leaders, such as the Marlene Malahoo Forte, they are at the helm of this agenda, right? And notice why she is heading, even though by training she's a lawyer, but we know that she would make an effective tool of reshaping Jamaica's constitution in aligning that constitution with the goals of the World Economic Forum and all these global bureaucrats, right? And notice that they are, for the most part, unelected officials, even though Marlene Malahoo Forte is an elected official, but she's actually working, or her highest mandate comes from these people, right? Because these are billionaire people and they're members of the elite of the world. Indeed, it discourages any questioning of the consensus. As we saw some years ago, you could not question the consensus because that is the consensus. And how dare you challenge the consensus? Because consensus can only be determined by intelligent people. And if you dare question the consensus, it means therefore that you're uneducated, you are unsophisticated, you are a conspiracy theorist, and all of those epithets that were launched at people. Whether the issue is tax rates or climate change, right? You cannot question these things. The language of corporatism, like that of Schwab's WEF, may be one of coordinated consultation, but the agenda is one of control, right? So they're in Jamaica, they're talking about, wow, we are trying to become a republic. At the same time, they're actually not engaging the public, right? They are operating in secrecy. And the Jamaican citizens are going to be surprised at the end of the day what the agenda really is. It's not about freeing you, because as the writer here is saying, the WEF, their agenda is more an authoritarian agenda than you can ever imagine, right? But what matters is the harmonization of views, no matter how absurd the idea or how high the cost in liberty, right? Very well said. Now, listen to what he continues to say, this writer. I'm happy that I was able to read it because part of the article is blocked. Not only does this generate groupthink, it encourages the marginalization of those who dispute the consensus, the science, if you will. If you have reservations about, say, open borders, don't be surprised if you are branded as xenophobe, right? If you decline to have your workforce unionized, you're likely to be labeled a market fundamentalist who treats his employees as mere objects. Another problem is the collusion and cronyism fostered by corporatism. Corporatist structures facilitate client-patron relations between businesses and governments. That in turn produces insiders and outsiders, right? And he goes on, and he says, lastly, and attach the article to the description, corporatist style of stakeholder capitalism is decidedly ambivalent and about democracy. So they are not pro-democracy, something that you've got to understand. So all of this Republican status means absolutely nothing if we have this Malahoo Forte, who seems to be a committed member of the World Economic Forum. And they're not just there, guys, just decorating the house. She's very intelligent, and I'm not launching a tirade on her. I do not belong to any of the parties in Jamaica, whether the PNP or the JLP. So I do not have an agenda. I do not have a political agenda. I am just presenting to you the facts as they are, right? And I'm hoping also that you will do your own research, right? I can't tell you everything on this platform because the platform will not allow me to do so. I have also admonished you to like the videos, because if you don't like the videos, they won't be shared. It's not the views, it's a like that allows algorithms, because everything now is what? Run by algorithms, essentially computer. So if you don't like the video, the algorithm is not going to be encouraged to share the video with other members of the platform. And many of you are not liking the video. So please, as soon as you begin to watch the videos, or as soon as it ends, please put a like on the video so the video can be shared with as many people on the platform. He's saying here, as nations have discovered, considerable costs are associated with the corporatist ways of running economies and societies. On an economic level, corporatism discourages innovation, produces inflexible labor markets dominated by unions whose priority is maintaining the status quo, and riddle the marketplace with privileges for well-connected businesses, as we saw during the pandemic, right? That is what we saw during the pandemic, something that you have to understand. So, he goes on, but I think you got the gist of what this writer is trying to convey to all his readers, right? So Marlene Malahoo Forte is a member, right? She is a recognized member of the World Economic Forum. Was she placed at the helm of the Constitutional Reform Committee to change our constitution to reflect the virtues and values of the World Economic Forum. Before I even end, I have another article coming from Georgetown University that sheds a little bit more light on this forum. Let me just get it here very quickly so that I can end the video. Where is it here? Did I have it here? Sometimes I find it hard to get back. This is not the school. Yeah. I might not be able to see. It's weird that I can't find it, even though I had it here. Okay, yes. No, it's not it. It's not it, people. It's not it. I did not. It came from Georgetown. Let me let me get out of the screen and see if I could find it in my email, because this was a very good, enlightening article coming from Georgetown University about the World Economic Forum, which I did send to my, oh yes, to my email. All right, so let me see. I just pulled it up, so I'm going to now share my screen. So it was here. Actually, it was here, and I did not click on it. All right, so let me share my screen again. Just quickly be patient with me as I share my screen. Okay, good. So we have this. So I think I had started reading already about it. But here's what they're saying about the World Economic Forum. It has a lot of values it has. Global agenda of councils on values, right? So it's going to reshape our values. It's also going to reshape our faith and the global agenda, values for the post-crisis economy. And this was written after the 2008 financial meltdown. As part of our engagement with the Global Agenda Council on Values, Georgetown University's Berkeley Center for Religion, Peace, and World Affairs collaborated with the World Economic Forum in January 2010 to launch a second report, Faith and Global Agenda Values for the Post-Crisis Economy. But look at what they're saying. They're saying they're going to have this moral economy. Where did I see it again? Let me see if I can go down here where they talk about having a moral economy. Now, who do you think determines moral? God, the Bible, religion, right? And now they're going to have a faith-based economy where actually morals, they will tell you, because that is all the morals, all the rules will come from thus saith the Lord of hosts. And you've got to follow these rules as far as these people are concerned. We have the Global Redesign Initiative and Global Agenda Council on Faith. Now, the Global Redesign Initiative, who was developed by the World Economic Forum to help enhance cooperation across sectors, industries, and disciplines. Its goal, as stated by WEF, is to integrate the forum's diverse communities through a series of meetings and activities structured to promote integrated thinking and develop proposals to improve structures of international cooperation in a wide range of areas. Now, look at these wide range of areas. So we have here creating a values framework, right? Building sustained economic growth. They always like to say that. Strengthening the international monetary and financial system. Creating employment, eradicating poverty, and improving social welfare. The Bible says that the poor will always have with us. 5, managing and mitigating global risks. Number 6, ensuring health for all. Interesting. And number 7, enhancing global security. Number 8, ensuring sustainability. And number 9, building effective institutions in an empowered society, right? And they have all of these agendas that they plan to implement and on the world, right? And this is a global agenda, right? This doesn't have anything to do with only Marlene Patricia Malahoo Forte, right? This is a global agenda. And I see Marlene as a young or younger. She's not that, she's not that younger than what's her name? The one from Mia Motley, right? I see her as a mini Mia Motley. I see Marlene Malahoo Forte as a mini Mia Motley. Elegant, sophisticated, right? And they are cultured women, right? Who speak their minds, right? And they are confident on the world stage. So we have to congratulate them and we have to pray that God will enlighten their leadership. But we must call them out when we see that they're walking and with the wrong crowd and they're associating themselves with people who we might think, well, we are seeing right now, are not for democracies, they're not for freedoms, okay, the civil liberties that we cherish, right, that we hold so dear, right? We've got to call them out. I mean, irrespective of what people think. Now, and this is what we need to do, particularly for Black people. We tend to always idolize people who are associated with these so-called renowned international and global institutions, right? We tend to want to laud them, right? They're working for the World Bank, they're working and they're professors at said universities. And sometimes we don't understand that some of these organizations are not working in the interest of global citizens, right? They are working in the interest of these private economic and political elites, something that you've got to understand. And many times you are not understanding. When I talk about the fact, I say, who owns Jamaica? Nobody can say, right? You think you own Jamaica, but you don't own Jamaica because the Jamaican elites are not impressed with the ordinary Jamaican people, right? They don't even like to live with you. You think so, but they don't, right? Because they have decided that they will not even share the wealth with you, right? We have this very divisive society between the haves and the have-nots. And we have not changed that society since Mr. Serra made that speech from I think the latter 1950s or the early 1960s. He made that speech in Jamaican Parliament. And when he was debating office in 2005, the situation had not changed that much, right? Jamaica is still a country of the haves and the have-nots. And I think that the few from the lower class who have ascended to that top, they are also not desirous of having others at the lower um, rung of the ladder, right? They are not necessarily interested in having them climb, all right, and become a part of, a prosperous class, right? Of that prosperous class, economically prosperous class. They're just not desirous of doing that, right? We're living in a society in which people really don't care, right? There are two or probably three or four Jamaicas that we have there. This Republican status that the government is working on laboriously is not going to solve our problems, right? And they're just using this as a strategy to deceive the Jamaican people. And we've got to shout, we've got to scream, we've got to let our voices be heard. But many of you, instead of wanting to read and to be able to associate yourselves with people of like mind who can think, not of like mind, but people who can think, right? You prefer to associate yourselves with people who cannot think, right? But tell you the things that you want to hear, and then you are going to be deceived. Deceived, because deceived you will be. And today is what date? May the 6th, the 18th, 2004. You will be deceived if you think that Jamaica receiving Republican status is going to save us from our problems, all right, or is going to make us free. It is not going to make us free. It's going to result in more control, right? It's going to result in more control, as the Spectator article from the UK intimated, right? Something which I found interesting also before I end this video is the fact that when Barbados also became a republic, right, a parliamentary republic, that King Charles went, right, this great monarch, right, he went there. At the time, he wasn't yet king, I believe. His mother had not yet passed. Did she? Can't remember. I think he was he was still Prince Charles. But do you think that the monarchy was going to be happy for Barbados in terms of if they were really achieving full liberty? I don't think so, right? I don't think any reigning monarch is going to be happy and be there and be celebrating with that so-called Republican status country, Well, I don't think so. I just don't think so. I think that it's just a show, right? It is a show. And because our governments know that we are superficial people, that we're artificial for the most part, they like to entertain us. And my God, aren't we entertained? Continue to be entertained, because when you wake up from all of that entertainment, you are going to shed rivers of tears. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you will like and you will share and you will subscribe. Hope to see you in the next video when I shall upload another one. All the best to you. See you then. Ciao.